What's up? It's Marco, Sage of Soccer, and today we have really good news for the U.S. men's national team. FOLARIN Balogun has committed to play for the U.S. men's national team over England, and this is amazing news. He has been playing very well for Reims this year in France. He was the top scorer in France for a period. He slowed down a little bit as of late, but he's been very good this season, and to make it even better, he's actually underperforming his XG, which in a big sample size, that would probably not be the best news, but for a small sample size, that means he probably should be scoring even more than he already is. And I'd expect that goal scoring number to be even better next season if he's in League On. Or maybe he goes and stays at Arsenal, where honestly you compete for that backup striker spot. Gabriel Jesus, he's not the most healthy guy. I'd imagine he'd be playing a lot, especially as Arsenal would be in the Champions League next season. I think he is a better player than Eddie Nketiah, so that's just great news for him. And honestly, for the U.S., it now turns the striker position, which honestly is probably the weakest spot on the team. Now, I do think it would get better in the future. Ricardo Pepi's a very talented prospect, but for the current second, I think striker is the weakest position we have on the squad. Josh Sargent is probably our starter, and I do like him, but he's not exactly a high goal scoring player that I think we'd really want in this team. But now Fowler and Balogun comes in, and it might be one of the best spots on the team. Probably better than any of our center backs, right back, maybe in some of our wingers. Like he's legitimately is one of the strongest positions on our team now. Like it is huge news getting this guy to commit to the squad. I've gone over his style of play a little bit before, but basically he is a pretty good technically gifted striker. That was his issue when he was at Arsenal, where he wasn't getting playing time because his finishing really wasn't there at a professional level. So despite the technical strength that he had, Eddie Nketiah was playing ahead of him because he was coming up with goals. But then he went out on loan to France, and all of a sudden the goals started showing up for him. He's playing under a very good coach in France and Will Still. And I think that like now that he's finally taken the step forward, like sky's the limit for him. I think a lot of people were saying that Balogun should commit to the U.S. because you can either be a star for us or just be another guy for England. And, I think there's a little bit of truth to that, but I think that this is a huge loss for England. And once Harry Kane gets out of the way, I think Balogun could have been able to step up and be that next number nine for them. Now, a lot of things will have to have gone right for him, and there still are a ton of very good prospects in England, but I am serious when I say I think Balogun could have been a very good player for England, maybe even at like the upcoming Euro or the 2026 World Cup. I think he could have been a player for them. And now he's going to be the striker for us. And I think that's huge news. He walks into the starting lineup easily. And I'm really excited to see what Balogun can do because, man, that striker position, it's been pretty weak for us. It really hasn't been great for us for a long time. I mean, man, maybe Brian McBride since then, depending on where you count Clint Dempsey or Landon Donovan as a player. They're probably not really true strikers. Our of them are a little bit better, deeper, but it's really good to see us get this just extremely talented player into the squad. Again, technically gifted player. He can keep up with all the players we have on our team, including the midfield. He can drop in and play that well. And in addition, he's an amazing finisher in the box. Like he immediately, I'm saying this again, immediately changes striker from a position where, like, this is how I always described it. In There's a bit of a cliche in soccer called it says form is temporary, class is permanent. And I think that's a bit of a cliche. There's not too much truth to it, but I think you understand what it means. Like even if Harry Kane goes goalless for the rest of the season, England are still going to start him up front because that's Harry Kane. You know how good he is. You know what he can provide. So he's a class player. With our strikers, the conversation always revolves around form. So I think that tells us where we're at. With Balogun, I think that changes. He's just such a good starter for us, and it is huge news that he committed to the U.S. And yeah, that's just amazing news to start the day. And yeah, that's all I've got to talk about, really. It's amazing that we've got this guy in the squad. It immediately changes the complexity of the team. It makes us so much stronger. and this is huge, great news. And yeah, that's all I got to talk about. See you.